The last time voter rage boiled over into the destruction of the central bank, Andrew Jackson was president, and he reasoned that that bank did nothing but benefit an elite circle of corporate and industrial interests at the expense of those who labor and save. He understood that by centralizing the power of currency into the hands of a private institution, it would inherently be corrupted by the government. Then it could be used to finance big government schemes at home and abroad. Sound familiar? In a famous statement, Jackson declared, quote, "You are a den of vipers, and I will rout you out." And by God, he did rout them out. And by God, we hope the leaders of the Tea Party today will learn this lesson, focus their rage, and use it to shine light into the den of vipers at the Fed. Light put upon the government will expose what it has done to steal the value of our money. Exposing government secrets will bring us freedom, and freedom will bring us prosperity.
You could call the Federal Reserve a conspiracy because they're conspiring to, run the whole economy secretly. So I would say that's a pretty good conspiracy we ought to understand and we ought to look into. But the Federal Reserve is the key element in the formation of financial bubbles. The Federal Reserve is the culprit, and if we can get an audit, we could reveal exactly what they do, because they deal in trillions of dollars of extending loans to special interests, special banks, special corporations. They make deals with other central banks and other governments of the world. So they're a government unto themselves, and they print their own money. So if people have any concern whatsoever about the business cycle and serious financial problems that we have, that we're in the midst of, and now we're facing a dollar crisis, they have to know about what the Federal Reserve is doing, how it operates, and then we can get to the bottom of all our financial troubles that we have.
Rob, but my time is about up. But I would like to suggest that you say it's not spending money. Well, it's money out of thin air. You put it into the market and you hold assets, and the assets aren't, they are diminishing in value when you buy up bad assets. But very quickly, if you could answer another question, because I'm curious about this. The price of gold today is $1,580. The dollar during these last 3 years was devalued almost 50%. When you wake up in the morning, do you care about the price of gold?
Well, I pay attention to the price of gold, but I think it reflects a lot of things. It reflects global uncertainties. I think the reason people hold gold is as a protection against what we call tail risk, really, really bad outcomes. And to the extent that the last few years have made people more worried about the potential of a major crisis, then they have gold as a protection.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
It's not money. Even if it had been money for 6,000 years, somebody reversed that and eliminated that economic law.
Well, it's an asset. I mean, it's the same. Would you say Treasury bills are money? I don't think they're money either, but they're a financial asset.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Some people still think it's money. I yield back. My time is up.
Thank you.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
It's not money. Even if it had been money for 6,000 years, somebody reversed that and eliminated that economic law. Do you think gold is money?
No.
The first is that this system is not in conformity with the Constitution. The second, and very importantly, it is dishonest. And thirdly, it is unstable and in the process of blowing up, perhaps while I'm testifying here today. Now, here's another way of looking at this issue. Go to the next slide, please. Suppose we have a sign that says cat. Next slide. And we hang it on a dog. Next slide. Does the dog become a cat? And suppose the Congress passes a law that says all the dogs with cat signs, are now cats. Go to the next slide. Now are all these dogs cats? And the answer is no. And conceptually, this is no different than taking a piece of paper, printing the word dollar on it, adding seals and signatures, and calling it a dollar. And this is precisely what has happened to our money. Clearly, there is no easy remedy. How could such an immense fraud be perpetrated? Well, there's several reasons, but one of the most important, which H.R. 1098 will go a long way to correcting, is that we're coerced to using fraudulent money by the legal tender statutes. By getting rid of legal tender, H.R. 1098 is necessary and may be sufficient to help pave the way to an honest monetary system.
A famous central banker once said, quote, "If you give me control of a nation's monetary system, then I care not who writes its laws." In the United States, we have the rule of law. It's the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees that if you own property, which includes money, the government cannot just take it from you or diminish its value. The history of central banking in the United States is a tumultuous one. The intellectual battle between Thomas Jefferson, who wanted no central bank, and Alexander Hamilton, who wanted Soviet-style central planning, has been playing out over the centuries. The battle between liberal economist John Maynard Keynes and free market champion Friedrich von Hayek still plays out today. Hayek was convinced that if we were ever again to have decent money, it would not come from the government. It would be issued by private enterprise. And Keynes argued that the government could produce prosperity with more control over our economic choices. We all know now that Keynes was wrong. Central banks are not necessary for a free market. In a free society, banks would have to compete for your business, and consumers would be free to choose a reputable bank. Instead, we have given control of our money to an unconstitutional and secretive Federal Reserve. Instead of supply and demand determining interest rates, like it does with the cost of shoes and bread and chocolate, the Fed dictates the value of money. The Fed would rather we stayed ignorant and disinterested in what it does to the value of our money. It doesn't want us to ask tough questions and deal with harsh realities about interest and credit. The job of the CIA and other intelligence agencies is to steal and keep secrets. Yet we know far more about what our intelligence agencies are doing than we do about what the Federal Reserve does. When private bankers can operate in secret with the authority of the government, they will enrich themselves and lessen the value of money for the rest of us. That is the Federal Reserve, and that is theft, pure and simple.
Give me any sense of why it is we're not having any conversation about canceling some of this debt, especially the debt that is being fabricated, invented, and absorbed into the Federal Reserve.
Well, that would disrupt things, and it would expose the Fed for some of the tricks that they play, so they're not interested in it. I was very pleased that I did get a fair amount of attention on the internet and people praising this idea that it was a sort of a painless way of solving the problem. But yes, I suggested that it's not a real debt. They created money out of thin air, and they bought treasury bills, so the taxpayer has to continue to work hard to pay interest and pay the interest to the Federal Reserve. So if you dismiss that debt of $1.6 trillion and that payment came off, all of a sudden we'd get a reprieve.
People forget, which is that the central bank is the instrument by which we are financing our own national borrowing at the Treasury Department. In other words, we're lending ourselves our own money that we're making up on a computer.
Yeah, it's really a fraud, and it's deceiving the people.
What if the Constitution has been amended by consensus? What if those who have taken an oath to uphold it, almost to a person, have agreed not to do so? What if in this way our Constitution has become meaningless? What if in this way our republic has been turned into the very thing the Constitution was written to prevent? If it weren't for a small slither of American colonists who were revolutionaries, considered at that time to be radical and out of touch and dangerous, and who were willing to rock the boat, we'd all still be part of the British Empire.
But I think the obligation of all of us should be the oath of office. We should take it shouldn't be the oath to the party. I'm sorry about that. But it isn't the oath to the party. It's the oath to our office to obey the law, and the law is the Constitution. But winning the general election also is very, very important. It is our message that appeals to the independents, to the Democrats, and to the Republican base. When this revolution is successful, it will not be a Republican monopoly at all. It will be bipartisan. It will be endorsed by all the American people. It says that we do the best against Obama.
Remain remain a danger to the Federal Reserve System as well. Yes. And the Fed, right, and the Fed. Yeah.
Max, and the Fed, Max. Max, and the Fed.
And the Fed, right, end it.
You neocons are done. Go away. America doesn't want you anymore. Fox News lies. Your propaganda is a disgrace to the Republic. Give us a break.